Good evening, everyone, and welcome to NapChat. And we got another exciting program for you this evening. Really excited. Here to have our friend Dan Liss. But before we get into Dan Liss, I'd like to introduce the host of NapChat. There's myself, Alejandro Bruner Solis, that is me, program manager for PWN4PWN. And then we got Rachel Nesmith. She's
Howdy.
our volunteer in for community outreach. And everybody knows Rachel. I mean, she's been really, a big component of our community for many years. I mean, way more than
Thank
me,
you.
including Dan. I've been doing this for a couple years now. And so yeah. All right. No further.
Dan and I go way back.
Oh, here comes Saul.
Oh, Solomon's joining us. All right. All right. Well, before we begin Dan's list presentation, I
Thanks,
just like
Saul,
to
because I
give you
needed
all a
you here
little.
because you're going to give me shit.
No, you got this. All good.
All right, guys. So before we begin, just some friendly reminders here. This is a supportive community. It is not a substitute for medical care. No medical advice. Conversations are based on personal experience and peer support, not clinical recommendations. Consult your doctor. Always talk to your healthcare provider before making any changes to your treatment, medications, or routine. And just respect journeys, right? I mean, everyone's experience with narcolepsy and or IH is unique and valid. Let's keep this a safe, supportive, and empowering space. And got to give a special shout out to our program sponsors that make this happen. This session today happen like our other programs, which is Avadel and Takeda. So big shout out to them. Thank you so much for being our sponsors. All right, let's get into this. Who's this guy right here? And I love this fedora. And then that's a lily there. And I like the Hawaiian shirt. That's beautiful.
Hey, that
That's
was my
beautiful,
wedding
beautiful guy.
day.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, all
No.
right. So this is NapChat featuring Dan Liss. Let's meet Dan, right? Well,
Yeah.
Dan is our PWN4PWN Community Outreach Committee member. He has actually been involved in our organization for a few years. And then I learned something new about this guy. He works for an escape room as an escape room game master. How freaking cool is that? Right? Yeah. And then on top of that, he's a stay-at-home dad, so we're going to learn a lot about that. And then, yeah, Dan has been a huge advocate for narcolepsy IH and as well as ADHD and autism awareness. And then also equally impressive is, he was a former EMS, EMT, and licensed practical nurse. And I also want to touch on the EMS thing because he actually had an EMS business where he was training medical professionals, on the recertification. So yeah, we're really going to get in some good stuff this evening. So yeah, Dan, I'm going to leave it up to you, man. The floor is all you, buddy.
So, yeah, I had a weird upbringing. Yeah, I mean, I had some issues growing up. Um, back in the 70s, they're saying, oh, he's a nervous kid. He's got that nervous stomach. He's always sick. Or he's faking. He doesn't want to do things. But I was also kind of withdrawn, didn't want to be around people, but had a big family, older brother, younger sister. Problem is, they teamed up on me. I was the one who got the brunt of it because I kind of felt like I was the odd one out because I was different. I knew I was different. I just didn't understand how different I really was. Got in a lot of fights as a kid. Um, but a lot of the stuff really started when I was, in fourth grade. I had this viral infection where I had a fever of 104 degrees. It would not go down for an entire week, even with being thrown in, tepid baths and stuff, taken to the hospital, had a weird rash. They couldn't figure out what was going on. That was when I had what I would come to understand be my first hypnagogic hallucination. Or I would close my eyes and I was being trampled by wild horses. And I was literally, I mean, I could feel the horses trample. I, I'm what, 10 years old in fourth grade? No freaking clue what's going on. So I'm always sick because didn't understand what's going on. I didn't know I wasn't sleeping well. I didn't understand why I was having these weird dreams and things. But not only that, I think I had a lot of anxieties, but I didn't know that they were anxieties because, you didn't talk about stuff like that. That's just a kid being a kid back then. I just didn't, I had friends, but a lot of times I did play by myself. Um, at a young age, I was diagnosed with ADHD. They tried the Ritalin, but it actually made me feel weird. And my mother how didn't like what it did because I actually was able to focus on the TV screen. I focused on the TV screen instead of jumping around. She thought that wasn't right. I didn't know what's going on. I didn't understand how these medications are supposed to work. But she didn't think that was what was supposed to happen. She thought I was just sitting there stoned out of my mind. Okay. So we stopped the medications. Okay. But again, being constantly sick, I would spend a lot of time at my bubby's house. And she would take care of me, and my uncle and my great uncle, they owned a store, a furniture store. So I would spend a lot of time there. Unfortunately, while spending time there, I was on multiple occasions sexually molested by my uncle. Uh, you're 10 years old. This is happening to you. You don't talk to anybody about it. That's shit you hold in. So now got this got this ADHD. Now I'm also probably suffering from depression, PTSD, but I don't know what's going on. So I start acting out, um, you know, violently acting out with against my, brothers and sisters, because that's what I thought I needed to do to get the attention that I was seeking, you know, because all I wanted was attention. I wanted to, be seen, but I didn't think I was being seen. That's the way it always felt like that for my entire life. Um, but I started, doing group activities and learning how to, you know, do things on my own. Because I didn't, yeah, my parents sent me to the child psychiatrist, psychologist, and all that stuff. They did nothing for me. Play games here, yeah, do this, we did, it was nothing. Um, Finally, I just stopped all of that nonsense and I just started, I played soccer, did all that as a kid, did the sports that I could until I got injured. I But I just did what I had to do to survive, you know, and I made it up as I went. That's what we did. That's, the motto of, Gen X, fuck around and find out. That's basically what my life has entailed. I had a few little, issues back, in school where got beat up and things like that. But finally, you know, I had the ability to learn. I, yeah, with my dad and I, we were in Boy Scouts, and he became an EMT because he wanted to be our scout leader. That got me interested in EMS. And at the age of 17, I became the youngest certified CPR instructor in the state of Massachusetts. I think you can go to the next slide, I think. Yeah. I don't know where we are. Yeah, this works. So then I was certified. So, and my father and I, we started a business in 1996. The reason we started this business in 1996 was there was this week that we were teaching, and I wasn't feeling all that well. And we kind of thought it was because my father's uncle, who was one of the greatest men to me, I actually wrote a poem dedicated to him, had passed away. And I was very upset. And again, I worked nights, so I never saw daylight, so I was always pale. Um, but I wasn't feeling well. But I taught a CPR class the night before. My parents went out to dinner. I was lying in bed and sat up and just vomited up about 2 pints of coffee grounds and blood from my stomach. Paged my father. He ran out the truck, got onto his, bag phone. This is 1996. So he had the bag phone in the truck, ran it back into the restaurant, told them to put the food to go, and came home. Call for the ambulance. The police showed up. See, my dad was also on the auxiliary police in town, so I knew all the cops in town. So they walk in and they go, "Jesus, Dan, you look like shit." I'm like, "Thanks, guys." Like, the ambulance arrives, but there's no paramedics available, so they just put me in the back of the ambulance and screwed me to the hospital. And they make the call. We've got a 23-year-old male with severe GI bleed. And we get to the hospital, and the whole trauma team is waiting at the door. I have never seen a more disappointed trauma team in my life because there they come taking me out of the ambulance and I am laughing and joking with freaking EMTs. My blood pressure was perfect. All of my vital signs were perfect, but I had 6 pints of blood in my stomach. They couldn't figure it out. So I should have died that day. And it was at that point where I said that I am destined to help people. That's what my life is going to be. I'm destined to help people in some way, shape, or form. So I went into EMS, followed my dad's footsteps, went into nursing until I couldn't do it anymore because of the narcolepsy. And then I was my dad's caregiver. Well, he had his pancreatic cancer. This is where the diagnosis portion of the narcolepsy comes in. While I was his caregiver is when my journey to diagnosis began. I was his primary caregiver, taking him to all his appointments. So he would come with me to all of mine, and we would came to one of mine, and he was talking with the doctor, and the doctor was talking with me, and the doctor's like, I see in you a lot of medical things that happened with me. And the doc's like, because I was just diagnosed with narcolepsy myself because I just smashed my car into a telephone pole because I fell asleep behind the wheel. And I'm seeing those same things with you. So she got me right into seeing the sleep specialist immediately. So, I mean, even though I was, diagnosed with ADHD there, I actually found someone who saw something and I was kind of fast tracked, even though it takes that many years, I kind of got fast tracked. We did the MSLT and all that, but they didn't take me off any of my psychiatric medications because they didn't think it would have been a good idea. So the MSLT and all that came back inconclusive, but my doctor put me on Xyrem anyway, and my insurance approved it. But what I then decided to do was opt for the spinal tap. The thumbs up, well, yeah, the thumbs up for the spinal tap. It gave me the definitive diagnosis, but it was the worst fucking experience of my life. Okay. I had the spinal tap in the doctor's office. That went fine. My dad drove me home. Everything was good. Woke up the next morning. I felt fine. Drove to work. Got into work. Did our med count in the morning. Got ready to do my first pass of meds, and all of a sudden got hunched over to the point where I couldn't move. Just had the spinal headache. I walked out to my car because I was going to drive myself home. Started my car. I think about 10 minutes later, my boss, the director of the facility, came out, and one of my friends who works there came out, and I was in the passenger seat for some reason. Don't know how I got there. They brought me in, and my dad finally came and picked me up, and we went to the hospital because the doctor told me to get to the ER and they would she would have the head of neurology meet me there to, you know, do a blood patch immediately, which, a blood patch, they take blood out of your arm and inject it into your lower back where the spinal tap was done so that the blood adheres to where the leak is coming up. Well, I go to the ER and basically wait and wait and wait and wait. They finally call me back, say, yeah, you have a headache here, some Percocet, go home. Leave the hospital. They tell me, oh yeah, on the way home, stop at Dunkin' and get some really strong coffee that'll, help with the headache. Get a call from my doctor, my sleep specialist, and she's like, have you been seen at the hospital yet? I go, no, I've already been discharged. She goes, I just got a call from the head of neurology. He's waiting to see you. And I go, I'm already on my way home. She goes, okay, go home, go to bed. I'll call you first thing in the morning. So the first thing in the morning, she calls me and tells me to go to the other campus, get there. Said, Dr. Saylor called. She said, okay, they rush me back to ER, immediately start the workup. They do some preliminary blood work. Neurology is down there getting ready to do the blood tap. I'm sorry, the anesthesiology is getting ready to do the blood tap when the neurologist comes down and says, oh, we can't do that because his blood work came back bad. It looks like he may have meningitis, so we got to do another spinal tap. And the anesthesiologist is like, no. So out in the middle of the ER, in the curtains, the anesthesiologist and the neurologist were yelling at each other for 3 freaking hours. Finally, they gave in and did another spinal tap. So the doc's like, I'm going to use the smallest needle I can so it doesn't bother you. Nothing came out. So I had to take that needle out, put another needle in. So that's 3 needles in 2 days so far. Finally get that done. Bring me up to a private room because they were ruling out meningitis. So that made me happy. So I got a private room. The next morning they come in. Oh, blood work came back. As the spinal tap came back saying, you don't have meningitis, so we're going to do the blood patch right now. So they take the blood out of my arm, stick another needle in my back to inject blood, and 20 minutes later, all the pain is gone. All of that just to get a definitive diagnosis that yes, you do have narcolepsy. And finally, 6 months later, when they finally got the results, it's my hypocretin level is 16 picograms per milliliter. Anything below 100 is indicative of narcolepsy. So, yeah, I don't encourage people to get the spinal tap if possible. It was not fun. But then again, after that, you've got all of the other comorbidities that go with it. I have fibromyalgia. I've got degenerative disc disease. So I've got all of these other things. And then I finally in 2018 got my autism diagnosis. It took what? 40 plus something years for me to finally get the diagnosis that, yeah, I'm also autistic. So that explains why I have a lot of these processing issues and why I thought differently than everybody else, why I did a lot of things differently than everybody else, you know? But, once my dad died, I gave up on life, right? And then my daughter was born in 2014. And, it made me happy. At least I thought I was happy, you know. And again, we find out that she's autistic as well. And she also has DMDD. She's very violent when she's upset. So she lashes out. She beats the hell out of us when she gets upset. Okay. And she's getting better. But I mean, she's 11 years old now. And she's strong. She can put a hurt on us. Um, but it really wasn't until um, Thanksgiving of last year that I was really finally able to understand myself. I was finally able to tell my mom everything about what happened to me as growing up, about the abuse from my uncle, about actually being raped by an ex-girlfriend while I had just had knee surgery and I was stoned out of my mind on Percocet and such. Sorry, I gotta get stoned out of my mind. But finally, I was able to open up, and she finally understood me after 50 something years. She finally understood the true me. I actually had that cathartic break where I understood everything. I mean, I understood everything. I knew everything I wanted to that I wanted to do. I knew I had to get my story back out there. I knew I had to do this. And I started writing more. I mean, I was writing prior. I had some stuff that I wrote back in the 80s and 90s and things like that. But I started writing more and it just started pouring out more. Um, and I want to be telling my story because if we don't tell our stories, how are we going to help people understand what they're going through if they don't see what other people who have the same illnesses and issues and comorbidities and whatever the hell they've got? I mean, I don't just have narcolepsy. I've got insomnia. I've got, you know, red behavior disorder. I beat the shit out of my wife at night sometimes. And I don't even know that it's happening. You know, it's scary. But then again, when we go out in public, we don't even present our true selves. We're wearing masks every day we go out. We can't show our true selves to anybody because they wouldn't understand us. Nobody would understand. If we go out in public the way we feel and express that with our bodies, they're gonna think we're dead, you know? And I mean, that's why I try to use, humor is always good. You gotta make people laugh, or else, you know, I would be crying right now. And I'm trying not to, but that's why we gotta, instead of, yeah, some of our stories are negative, but we gotta tell these negative stories in a positive way. Because dwelling on the negative and the past, you can't do it. I let that destroy me for 50, well, I'm sorry, 40 years, because everything happened at around 10 years old. But, and I still have those memories, but I'm not letting them hit me as hard as they did. I'm not letting them keep me that 10-year-old boy anymore. I'm trying to be a 51-year-old man. Trying. Doesn't always work. Sometimes I still act like a kid all the time because I have a daughter, but that's what I got to try to do. And that's what I'm trying to do with getting out there, speaking to people, um, wanting to tell my story, because I think it's important that people understand that just because you're different, not just because you've got narcolepsy, you've got polio, I mean, you've got lupus, you've got anything, any illness, any disability. You need to be treated just like everybody else. You know, we live in a neurodiverse world. Okay. Everybody, there's no such thing as neurotypical. Everybody is neurodiverse. Everybody is different. Everybody needs to understand that everybody's different, and everybody needs to see that way. There's no such thing as the perfect person, because everybody is unique, you know? Yeah, you're not broken. You're different. I mean, you've gotta, yeah, it, turning pain into purpose, literally. That's what we do. You know, we have to get everybody to share. If we don't, we people need to be able to talk with other people who are going through the same thing. We need that conversation back and forth, to help each other, because the doctors can only do so much. They're following you medically. All right. We can help physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. It's it's that interaction, because a lot of us don't interact with people that much, do we? Or a lot of us are loners, aren't we? You know, we don't get out much. Uh, and I, eh, So yeah. All right, let's move on, I think. What's next?
All right, here, Dan, I want to hop in on this one. And, this is something that's really, really special. So everybody knows that, Dan here, he created the lyrics for the PWN theme song, which is titled Beyond the Sleep. And he partnered, with our marketing person or our actually audio visual guru, which is Alan. He worked with Alan, and Alan actually created the music video behind it. He created like the guitar riffs. I mean, the sound behind it. It is amazing. I like to call it rock star because it's like a rock star video. I love it. But the lyrics are really special. So we have three questions for Dan. So the first question is, Dan, what inspired you to write Beyond the Sleep?
Well, advocacy for narcolepsy, as PWN, we've been trying to promote advocacy for years. Um, and we've been trying to, make sure that stigma of narcolepsy is not there. We want to, break the stigma of people saying narcolepsy, oh, you're just gonna drop. And we need to make sure to let the people tell their stories. I mean, everything was the more we educate the people, the more we can rise above what we fight and deal with on a daily basis. I mean,
Nice.
the more we keep our voices strong, the more we push the, you know, the medical community to keep pushing forward to find better treatments because, the advocates are the beacon of hope for all of the, patients out there and persons with narcolepsy and even the families of the people. Um, the lyrics just, some of them just came from wanting to, make sure we rise above the sleepiness that we feel and be able to move forward to do what we want to do with our lives because we're trying to get beyond sleepiness.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. And then can you, tell us the story of how, you wrote this song? I mean, was it like, were you taking a shower, washing your hair and came up with the song? Like what?
No, I was actually sitting at work watching a group go through the escape room and started writing stuff down. I I was watching them and I'm just sitting writing. It was doing nothing special. It just came to me as I was watching the group.
That's
It,
funny.
it's weird. It's like, yeah, sometimes it'll come to you when you're sitting on the toilet, but no, this came to me while I could say, yeah, all right, it came through while I was shitting on the toilet, okay? No, it didn't.
That's what I was hoping you'd go
Okay,
for, man.
no, it came to me while I was sitting at work, running my escape rooms, but I mean, if Alan wants to do that, he can. Whichever one sounds better.
And then, I know you really kind of touched on this, with my first question, but I'm not going to get back into, the last question, which is, the impact, right? The impact your music video or the music video, your lyrics will have on the narcolepsy community. Just a little high level again.
I think that's gonna make people feel uplifted about, trying to raise their voices up and go beyond sleep and get moving forward so that we can, create better connections with, the medical field so that we can get better treatments for people with narcolepsy in the long run.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think so too, man. I totally agree that it's a powerful, music video, a powerful song. I think it's
Oh,
something,
I know. I've seen the video.
right? And speaking of, since we mentioned that, yeah, if you guys want to check out the teaser, please go to our Facebook page. You can follow the page, you can see the teaser, or even better, if you want to join our private group, please join our private group. Get into the discussion in our Facebook private group. You'll also see the teaser there. You'll also see it on our LinkedIn, so you can also follow us there on LinkedIn. And then, of course, if you are somebody that does live with narcolepsy, IH, or are a caregiver, please join our circle community, because that's where we actually put all of our full content, even like, tonight's session here will be available on our circle community, which we call the NapChat digital community, which will get me right here into my next slide, actually. Here, let me just get there. Well, actually, no, wait, hold on. Let me get to that next slide since I'm going to mention it, and then we're going to get into Q&A real quick. All right, so the programs for you, which is, of course, again, our NapChat digital community. You can see here with the QR code. And if you have your camera, you can scan the code. You can join the NapChat digital community from there. We also have the Health and Wellness 360 program, which we're going to be launching in the fall. So we are accepting applications. Look for more communications that, again, will either be in our circle community, will be on our Facebook pages or Facebook page or Facebook group, and then also on LinkedIn. And then we also do promote on like Instagram and some other social media platforms. And then we also have the Jobs Project, which we got an exciting announcement coming. We've revamped our e-learning platform where we're now going to offer up to around or over 25,000 courses. So a lot's going to be coming out there. We've partnered with a new vendor, so really excited about that. So be looking out for those communications. But without that, let's go with the Q&A session, because I think we got a lot of questions here. And then I think even some people could probably relate to what Dan's saying here. I know I'm relating to some things here that Dan has talked about this evening, some big ones. But I want to hear all y'all. So hey, I'm gonna open it up. So I'm gonna ask y'all to unmute and ask your questions, or if you got something to say, just say it.
Can I hop in? Can I say something?
Absolutely, Cecilia, please.
Thank you so much, Dan. Your story is so powerful,
Thank you.
inspirational. I mean, the things you've gone through and how you are really taking this and turning things around is just so profound. And when you were
Thank you.
talking about these comorbidities, and with me learning, I have ADHD as well. Was diagnosed about 6 years ago, inattentive and all that. I didn't even know there was a connection. I also have sleep apnea. So when you talked about
Oh
all those
yeah,
things
have
at
that too.
one time, yeah, right. And I'm on a BiPAP now, not a CPAP. So there we
Same.
are.
Yep.
Yep. So, and the thing when you was so profound was that people looking at us can't see that.
No.
They cannot see that. And like you said, we're trying to, in my case, I'm still working. Well, I'm on taking a few days off. That's another story. But the thing is, people can't look at you and see what you're going through. And a lot of times they don't have empathy because they're assuming, if I made a typo on a report that I was just negligent, not understanding the brain fog. So your story is just hitting everything, nail in the head. And I thank you for being brave enough to share it and to help all of us. So thank you.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
Solomon, did you have something?
Yeah, I totally with you, Cecilia, on what you just said. It's inspirational, and it's great to hear about the whole timeline. I was going to ask about so it was the mid 90s that you were diagnosed?
No, I wasn't diagnosed
Or
until
2000s?
2011.
2011. That's when I was diagnosed.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
gonna
Yeah. Yeah. 2011.
was gonna say or ask sort of a couple, maybe two questions here. When you were originally diagnosed, did it take a while for it all to like I mean, the more you learned, I imagine it all sort of became more and more. I mean, still, even with the science and whatnot that comes out, it's like more things become apparent. I guess.
Yeah, I kind of didn't believe it at first. I mean, I had my primary care physician literally said, "There's no fucking way you have narcolepsy."
Mm,
When I finally showed her that piece of paper, she apologized.
mm,
But then again, I also had another doctor who by far was my favorite until my current physician, because he's no longer, this doctor is no longer with us. Um,
mm.
I went to see him and he's like, "My friend, you are the worst type 1 narcoleptic that I have in my practice. Just because of the numbers of my, my hypocretin level." It, yeah. And I've also had a few doctors who were assholes because this my one that I had in Idaho, because when we left, we're moving away, she decided to cancel my Xyrem prescription while we were in the process of moving. I'm like, "No, I kind of need that." She goes, and I'm like, "Can you at least give me something so that I could travel?" And she finally gave in, but she was threatening me with drug seeking
Mm.
behavior. I need so and then again, it took me 6 months before we got insurance in Pennsylvania. So I was unmedicated for 6 months after because she cut me off because I moved. Doctors aren't supposed to do that. They're supposed to cover you for a year.
I had the same thing happen to me. That's how I got with Dr. Morse.
So, but my current doctor, oh my God, I mean, I love this guy. We work so well together.
That's great.
As soon as Loomrise came out, I said I want to switch, and we did it. And he's still trying to get me a medical device for my restless legs because medication isn't working.
Mm.
And what was your other question?
Uh,
So,
so I sort of thought it was going back to the mid 90s, but regardless, like, how do you feel like it's changed over these years? I feel like, right there with you, but yeah,
I
curious.
mean, I think things have gotten a lot better. I'm hopeful about the up coming up of the orexin
Agonist.
agonists. Um, I hope that will work because I it's just trying to get that if there's something to cross the blood-brain barrier. That's the issue, is getting something to cross that blood-brain barrier. Is if they can get that to happen, they could even create more hypocretin. It's just crossing that medication doesn't work. And I always found that interesting when I was in nursing, trying to get that medication across that blood-brain barrier is always going to be tough. But they're trying things, and I just wish some of us get in on those trials, and you know, people let us know how it happens.
Yeah, they hopefully will be coming soon, and hopefully there'll be many variations that each have different, benefits, and in time it will improve and improve, hopefully.
Exactly. I mean, some of the stimulants, I mean, some of them are great and some of them aren't. I mean, the modafinil just wasn't good for me. It made me violent. I mean, I almost didn't have a wedding because of it. Um, Vyvanse worked for me, but then my insurance wouldn't cover because it's not FDA approved for narcolepsy. So then you got to think you're fighting with all the drug company, the insurance companies, because they're saying, "Oh, well, yeah, it's not approved for that." So it's hard to get the medications that we need, and they're just too freaking expensive too. And I wonder what I mean, if these erection agonists come out, how much are they going to be?
Probably more than the oxybates for a while, which is like
Exactly.
already pretty mind-blowing as is, and it's been out
Yeah.
for decades, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Exactly. But if they work, they'll be a godsend. You know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Has anybody else got any other questions? Rachel, you have
Well,
anything?
I always thought of you, Dan, as like kind of like my brother in narcolepsy because we have a lot of things in common, like the severity and the neurodivergence that we caught on after our kids were diagnosed. And
Yeah.
they're about the same age. Well, I don't know when you got married, but it was like 2013, and then the baby came pretty fast.
Oh, our kid was first, and then we got married in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The kid came right, not, well, our first wedding anniversary, I was very pregnant. Yeah. I was like Jane. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, very admirable story. I learned a lot about you, and I like you even more now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I
I
can't wait.
hear you about the pancreatic cancer. That's tough.
Yeah,
Um,
that one was hard. I mean, and it happened, and he passed literally Thanksgiving morning.
Mm.
My brother woke me up at about 3:22 in the morning. I grabbed my stethoscope, listened to his chest,
Mm.
heard the final heartbeat.
wow.
But unfortunately, as an LPN, I can't pronounce, so I had to call and leave the message with the hospice nurse and wait for her to arrive 2 hours later to make the pronunciation. So yeah,
Yeah, my mom, she passed from pancreatic cancer also.
Mm.
That was a brutal battle. And then it was
yeah,
the first day of the year at like 2 a.m. and my stepdad called me, and I mean, she was in hospice at that point, but
yeah,
I'd seen her earlier that day, and
yeah. It's just like
such a brutal.
it is, and I mean, we didn't get along that well when I was growing up, but we were partners in crime when we were teaching for 20 plus years. We were, you know, he was the straight man, I was the comic relief when we were teaching, you know. We worked off each other like that. It was like a Martin Lewis type deal. But as soon as he passed, I mean, I was just done. I gave up on everything.
Mm.
But yeah, and then he comes to me all the time. I mean, I've got Dragonfly on my arm with his dates on it, you know. He's always there. But
Same with my mom. She's right here
Oh.
with me.
yeah,
She,
Right?
we were really close.
yeah. I mean, I wrote a poem about him. My daughter calls dragonflies Zadie flies. Well,
Oh.
because
Oh,
Zadie is Yiddish for grandpa,
Oh.
granddad. So I wrote one about him and named it Zadie Fly for her.
Oh.
But yeah,
I know it must be so hard to have lost a grandparent so young.
well, she never met him.
I know. That's
Wow.
even
That's
tougher.
so she's never met him. So
My goodness.
it's just like I never met my mother's dad, and he actually the last day she saw him alive was October 22nd, 1971. I was born October 22nd, 1973.
Wow.
Wow.
And I looked so much like him, everyone would call me him. his name.
Wow.
So, and that was actually named after him. If as and my Hebrew name is named after him. So
Oh, that's cool.
That
Very
is neat.
cool.
Nice,
Very
nice.
cool.
Yeah,
You
that's
gotta write a book.
You
I,
definitely have to write a book.
I can't write like that. I'll just write my poems. That's about it.
I would say he's got
Yeah.
the poems, you
Got
Yeah,
it.
you got
know.
the
Got it.
Yeah.
poem.
Right,
That's why I
right.
Poem
say
book.
There's a
the
lot of
novel
poets
would be,
amongst us.
I, I, I can't see. That's the thing. Poems I can write down. Writing a book
yeah.
I can't freaking. I've had thoughts of science fiction novels in my head. I can't get the stuff down on the freaking paper.
I understand.
We
I
That's why I
understand.
can't.
like the song lyrics. I'm like, my story's too unbelievable to believe. They won't believe
Except,
all the stuff in it.
yeah, no, my story is too scary.
I understand.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it needs to be, shared. I mean, people need to be able to hear it,
I mean, I could
you
do it
know.
as a TED Talk type deal, but writing it down,
Oh,
I
hey,
don't
that's
think
what we got video for right here. You
That's
know.
right.
I don't think I could do it like, written. I don't know. Because I mean, I would have to put some of the songs, some of the poems up on the screen, you know.
Got it.
You
It's
could
I,
do it. Yeah.
I
Yes.
need a whole production company for that. Jesus Christ. Oh
We'll
shit,
all
that's
try
what
to
Alan's
help.
for.
That's right. You should do a musical. How about that? Do a
Yes.
That's what
musical,
Alan's
I
Dan.
would
for.
love the musical.
A
You
That would
know,
musical.
Narcolepsy the musical. That would be fun.
well, you with some, well, we'd have to figure out with some of my songs we can do something because
Yes.
some of them, they
That
would
would
help.
be a blast.
Yeah, that would be so fun, Dan.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Whenever you're ready to do it, man, I'm in.
There you
Yeah.
go. See
Yeah,
what?
sounds good.
I don't even know how, but I'm in.
Yep, yep. Even my wife Melissa says she's down.
oh
I'm
yeah.
in. Go for it. That would just be
Well,
super fun.
I do think Alan and
I was gonna
Jane
say
want to
Alan.
do a full recording of Beyond the Sleep with
Yes.
actual instruments and us singing it.
Yeah, yeah, they
Oh
do.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Because I think I'd have some input of how to get the lyrics and get some good backing vocals in there with all of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can get like Michael McDonald. Remember back in the day when Michael McDonald would be the backup vocals for like every artist or band back in
Yes.
the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
We should get that. We should get Michael McDonald. He should do it for free.
No, just us. But it's like right now is kind of when I wish I had a band. I wish I still could play the drums. I can't even do that anymore. You know? Can't even play my bass anymore.
I tried playing the bass, but I failed. Yeah.
Yeah, my fingers lock up too much, so
Exactly. That's what was happening with me. It was just, yeah, the locking up. I mean, it takes a lot to play the guitar, the bass, like
yeah,
the string, especially when you're
have
doing
it. My
rock.
knees don't work and my legs don't work independently of one another anymore. Yeah, so
Yeah, well, all right. Well, hey, let's close this off here. So yeah, I want to provide another update. So our next Snapchat for October, Monday, October 6th, it's going to be at 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This is a good one. It's going to be Understanding the ADA at Work, who will be featuring Andy Kolsky. And he is a former lawyer. He is now a licensed mental health clinician, a sleep science expert, and of course, like I said, he's a former attorney. So he's going to be bringing in his whole experience on how to request accommodations, what employers are required to do under the ADA, and just tips for navigating tough workplace conversations when it comes to the ADA, because it's pretty tough. It's not that cut and dry, and a lot of people just need to be able to feel comfortable and have that confidence that they can go in and get the request that they are seeking. So there's that. And then just a little hint for November, because we got our guest speaker for November in attendance today, Cecilia Marie. She's going to be our guest speaker for November, and that's another good conversation because Cecilia is if you correct me if I'm wrong, social worker. So you are an experienced social worker, and
I'm a
she's
licensed social
talking
worker.
about advocating for yourself. So that's going to be another great conversation.
Yes.
And then
Okay, so I can't give you crap then.
yeah, yeah. So and then
I'm not
December,
on the clock.
we
Yes, you
got a
can.
special treat coming. So that December is going to be another special one. I won't mention that yet, but it's another special one that's coming for December. And then I mentioned the program. So yeah, we are to our thank you. Well, first, Dan, I want to thank you for your inspirational story.
You're welcome.
And just being vulnerable. It takes a lot, to talk about all that. Especially, I myself, and I can relate to this. This actually helps me, being a part of this group, because I don't get to talk about this often, especially with other people it's happened to, being molested. I too was molested when I was a child, all the way up into my teens. And it was somebody I lived with, in my home. Yeah, that definitely had an effect, on me as a child, on my mental health, and on my sleep. And I never really talked about it. I just started really coming open about it. And so this is what, support groups are all about, having these tough conversations, being vulnerable, where then you have a topic even like this that's we consider dark, but it needs to be talked about. And so I'm able to relate with that. So thank you for sharing that, for
You're welcome.
making yourself vulnerable there too, and
you.
sharing that. So yeah. All right. Well, I encourage everyone, if you want to get more information on PWN for PWN, visit our website at www.pwn4pwn.org. Or if you want to just, shoot us a question, send it over to info@pwn4pwn.org. And with that, until we see you next time, Rachel, what do you say?
Same nap time, same nap channel.
You got it, everyone. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.